that sing a rest. Amidst the unprecedented and dire economic crisis in Sri Lanka and massive anti-government street protests turning into all-night vigil as thousands of demonstrators gather daily at the Golf-Face Green in the capital city of Colombo, there is hope and light at the end of the tunnel. Why I say this is that the World Bank stands ready to provide emergency support in addition to the credit line bailed out already with India. The World Bank says it is ready to provide emergency support to Sri Lanka and protect the vulnerable people amidst the unprecedented economic crisis in the country. World Bank Vice President for South Asia, Hartwig Schaefer, said he held talks with Sri Lankan Finance Minister Ali Sabri and Governor of the Central Bank Dr Nandalal Veerasinghe in Washington this week. He said they discussed actions to address the economic crisis, support stabilization and recovery, and protect the vulnerable people in Sri Lanka. The World Bank is deeply concerned about the situation's impact on the poor and the vulnerable. It stands ready to provide emergency support for essential medicine and health-related supplies, nutrition and education. Finance Minister Sabri and a delegation including CBSL, that is Central Bank Sri Lanka Governor and Finance Secretary, are in the US for the annual spring meetings of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. The Finance Minister also had talks with the International Monetary Fund and India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman in Washington on Monday. Fuel from India. Another consignment of 40,000 megatons of fuel from India arrived in Colombo. 400,000 tons have received so far under the Indian line of credit. China announces RBD 200 million and emergency aid to Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Professor G.L. Peiris, met the ambassador of China to Colombo, Ki Zhenhong, at the Foreign Ministry on Thursday. Ambassador Ki assured that the Chinese government would continue extending assistance to Sri Lanka in every possible way, including direct Chinese government support, regional government support, and support through Red Cross China. The China International Development Cooperation Agency has pledged an urgent emergency humanitarian aid of RMB 200 million to Sri Lanka, including 5,000 tons of rice with the previously announced 2,000 tons, pharmaceuticals, production materials and other essentials. Furthermore, the Yunnan province has announced a donation of RMB 1.5 million worth of food packages to Sri Lanka. The release said that Foreign Minister G.L. Peiris extended Sri Lanka's profound gratitude to the government of China for unwavering and consistent support. Sri Lankan Foreign Minister G.L. Peiris briefed the ambassador on the measures which are being put in place by the government to overcome the prevailing situation immediately, including the ongoing discussions with IMF for financial assistance, as well as reformulating Sri Lanka's debt. In that context, Minister Peiris requested further assistance from China, particularly in the field of bridging finance during a difficult time. Foreign Secretary Admiral Professor Jainath Kolombage, senior officials of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and officials of the Chinese embassy were present during the meeting. We believe that the Sri Lankan government and people will overcome the temporary difficulties and maintain economic and social stability and development, said spokesperson Zhu Wei from the Chinese government. Another consignment of 40,000 megatons of fuel from India arrived in Colombo this week. Sri Lanka amends PCR policy for selected travellers. The Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority has amended its PCR policy for unvaccinated and vaccinated travellers. Issuing a notice, the SLTDA said unvaccinated and not fully vaccinated travellers have been exempted from the on-arrival PCR test and quarantine requirements about the coronavirus. The SLTDA further said that the amendments came into effect yesterday. Indian Consulate General in Jaffna distributed dry rations. Jaffna, April 21st News in Asia. As a part of the Government of India's humanitarian assistance to the people of Sri Lanka, the Consul General of India in Jaffna, in coordination with religious leaders, distributed dry rations to 60 families from Jaffna districts on Thursday. Clash breaks between Gotabaya Rajapaksa and Mahinda Rajapaksa. Jamila Hussain from News in Asia on April 21st announced, as appears in Daily Mirror, that a tug-of-war seems to have broken out between President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, with the latter now preparing to push for the 19th Amendment, which will take away the powers of the executive and empower more forces back to the Parliament. The Daily Mirror learns that for weeks now, there has been severe political instability among the government parties and its coalition members, many of whom are now seated in the opposition, with the 11-member alliance calling for Mahinda Rajapaksa to resign as the Prime Minister, while some others stating that if there is a resignation, then it should be the President who should step down. Senior political sources said that the President's selection alone made the recent cabinet and state ministry appointments. The Prime Minister was not consulted, nor did he attend the swearing-in ceremonies. The Prime Minister called for some senior ministers to be included in the cabinet. Still, President Rajapaksa had insisted on a younger and new cabinet, hoping that this would calm down the protesters and put the country back on track. India and Sri Lanka resumes talk on connecting power grids. India and Sri Lanka have resumed discussions on linking their electricity grids, officials told Reuters on Tuesday, a step that could aid New Delhi's goal of reducing China's influence on the island nation now grappling with a severe economic crisis. There was no immediate prospect that power cuts brought by the crisis could be eased by the talks, which are a preliminary effort on a multi-year project both sides have explored before. India has extended assistance running into billions of dollars to its southern neighbor to fight the crisis brought on by the steep drop in foreign exchange reserves that stalled imports of essentials such as fuel, disrupting the power supply. Fake news appearing in Tamil Guardian. Dr. Jai Shankar, Minister of External Affairs, is supposed to have said that if the people of Sri Lanka are agreeable, India is willing to proclaim that Sri Lanka will become a state of India. The Indian High Commission in Colombo has issued a series of tweets slamming morphed image that claims to be from India's External Affairs Minister, offering to proclaim Sri Lanka become the state of India in response to the ongoing economic crisis. Lankan President holds out an olive branch to the opposition. Balachandran in Colombo reports that the beleaguered Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa held out an olive branch to the opposition parties and people wanting him to quit for economic mess he has allegedly created. But he firmly stated that he would not quit, yielding to extra-constitutional removal methods, including the continuous demonstrations in front of his office in Colombo for the last 10 days calling for his resignation. In a statement, the President reiterated his call to the opposition to join him in solving grave problems the country is facing. He asked them to suggest constitutional reforms that can help tone up governance, which he admitted is replete with flaws. Indeed, in his instance, there is an ongoing constitutional reform process. Sri Lanka highlights: one person has died and over 10 people were injured after police and protesters clashed in Rambukana Tuesday afternoon. According to the Daily Mirror, the protesters were hurling stones at the police station following the incident. Meanwhile, the International Monetary Fund will consider providing quick financial assistance to debt-burdened Sri Lanka following representations by India, Sri Lanka's finance ministry said. Shamir Zahir, an aide to Sabri, said on Twitter that Sri Lanka asked for a loan under the Rapid Financial Instrument window meant for countries needing urgent balance of payment support. So, viewers, the future is not that bleak. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Stay safe and sound day you.